the brush up clinic for level 10 floor. Okay, here's my evaluation. Okay, she starts her routine. I just put a little arrow down. That just means she's down on the floor. Then she does a round off flip flop double back, which is a D. I have a couple tenths and deductions for that. Does a strug, which is a terre half, into wolf full, CC +1. I took a tenth off on each of those for shape and completion of turn. She then does a front layout. I had a tenth off on each of those. Does a double turn, little out of control, a tenth there, goes back down on the floor, does a side roll, ends with a round off flip flop double back piked. She has flex feet for half tenth. She had steps. I took a total of 3 there. And then she did not hold her last pose. So I took a half tenth there. Okay, so let's go to the right here. She has enough value parts. She needs 8 elements, 3, 3, 2, 3 A's, 3 B's, 2 C's. She's got plenty of those. I'm always looking for, does she have at least 5 B's and C's? And she has more than that. And then the rest are filled in with the A's, the round off flip flops, and whatnot. Her connective bonus, she has 1/10 in the dance, 1/10 in the tumbling, so 2/10 in connective value. She has 2 different D's, they're double backs, 2/10. She fulfills all her special requirements. And I start, when I'm judging for a long time, I go 2 salto series, 2 salto pass, I guess we call it now, 3 different saltos, ends with a C or better, and has a dance series. So she has all of her special requirements. Her start value is 9.9. If you added up all my execution there, it was 1.1. Now let's go to the bottom and look at up to the level and composition and other. Under the up to the level, she had 3 C's, no problem, so no deduction there. Her acro, when you look at the chart, this is where we sometimes have to use our judgment. Well, she has 2 D's and a B plus B. So is that a half-tenth deduction or is it a 1/10 deduction? Guess what, guys? That's where we have to use our judgment, and we might differ from each other by a half-tenth. And then her dismount is fine with a D. So no deductions under up to the level. Composition, she has a C salto, a B turn, backwards and frontward saltos, and the rest is all okay. We're good. Then I had a half-tenth off in footwork. She tended to have some sickled feet in various places. And then artistry, she really wasn't projecting. She wasn't showing it off. She wasn't as artistic as I'd like to see. So I have if you go back to the right side here, a half-tenth in composition, a tenth in these other elements, other items, the footwork and artistry, which add up to 1.25. I subtract that from 9.9. I have an 8.65. And now we're going to watch the same routine, only slow motion. Okay, starting pose looks good. See that bottom foot sickled a little bit as she came up? You can see some form issues. You can see a step, maybe a little chest down. I had 2/10 total on that. You might have a little bit more than that. And then here's some steps that are, well, a little bit of sickly, a little bit not fully up on her toe. Even that little turn, it's on her toe, but not fully extended through her feet. And there's a sickled foot in the behind her again. Okay. A little bit of form, a little bit of incompletion on that second jump. So I had a 10th off on each of those. Here, her footwork's a little flat or semi on toe, not all the way on the toe. That's accelerating one, a little bit of form, and then a little bit of control on that second one. It could also have been higher. Control, she's not in control on that. Took a 10th on that. And here you can kind of tell as she's getting tired. You can see it on her face. Got some form issues, got a huge step and another step. And then she just does her last pose and gets out of there as fast as she can. So let's look at what she did. She too started down on the floor, did a side roll, and then did a round off flip flop, double back, piked. She under rotated that, stepped forward, and she was low and she had flex feet. So I had a total of 3-5 off on that one. Then she does a full turn with her leg at or above horizontal, little half tenth. It was a little bit, it was there, but just barely, and the form and the height of the toe wasn't great. So a little half tenth there. Then she does a front full into a front layout, a CB +2 in connected value. I had a tenth off, some form issues on the front fall, and then a half tenth on the layout, could have been higher. Then she just switched side into a Popa, CC +1. She got those around, but her legs were a little bit crooked. They weren't, they weren't parallel to the floor like you'd like to see them. And maybe could use a touch more split. So I had a tenth off on each of those. She goes back down on the floor. Then, and you might have had a concentration pause before her front pass, because she kind of went before the front pass. Well, she definitely did that before her last tumbling pass. So I have a 10th concentration pause there. Round off flip flop double back. She got her feet underneath her, and then she flopped forward on her belly. Had some form issues, obviously was low. So I had a total of 7/10 there. And then she whipped through her last pose and got out of there. So a half tenth for not holding her pose. So when I went through this, she has all her value parts that she needs. Special requirements are all there. She has 3/10 in connective value, but we only get 1 D for the first D that she did. Because of the fall, she does not get difficulty or D value for that last double back. So her start value is only a 9/9. She has a B turn and then a CC in her dance passage. So if we look at our chart for that, 2 C's and a B is a half tenth deduction. We don't even have to make a judgment on that. Her acro, again, once you start judging a lot of these, you'll know that if she has 2 D's and then a CB directly connected, she fulfills her acro, so she's fine. And she ended with a D, so her dismount is fine. Compositionally, she's fine. She's got her C salto on her B turn, and she goes forward and backward on her saltos. Other footwork, again, she had some of the same issues that the first girl did, with some sickled feet and a little bit of not all the way up on her toes, not all the way extended on her feet, a little bit, but not all the way there. And then she was taking extra steps backwards. And then, okay, so this is under artistry. And then her choreography and expression. So the steps were the choreography when she's stepping backwards before her tumbling passes without choreographed steps. And her expression, she was just kind of a blank face and not really using her head changes, just not executing it in a way that showed us that expression. So I take, going back to the right side here, up to the level 0.05, other deductions 0.15, so I have a total of 1.75 off. My score is 8.15. Okay, this athlete started pose and she was down on the floor. Then she does a round off flip flop, double back piked, steps out of bounds. In this case, we're not taking the out of bounds issue. She gets a D for it. It was nice and high. She took a huge step backwards, so a 2/10 for that. Now, some people took more than 2/10 because they felt like her steps to get back in bounds should have been deducted. I saw those as skips and part of her catching up with her choreography. So you could be lower than me on this because of that particular element. She then does a 1.5 turn, had a 0.5 for the control there. She then does her front pass, which is a layout front into layout front full. She had leg issues on that first layout and then a step and some leg issues on the front full, +2 and connected value. She's back down on the floor and then she does a switch leg leap, which is a B, and then does a strug or a terre half to 2 feet, plus a wolf full, so CC +1. She was a little short on the turn on the strug, and then she staggered her feet on landing the wolf full. So I have a 0.5 deduction on each of those. She's back down on the ground again, ends with a nice high double back and a little bit of a step. Let's go down the right side here. Her connective value, she has 3/10. She has 2/10 in D. She has all her special requirements met, so she starts at 10. If you add up all the execution errors that I took, anyhow, you have 0.65. You might have had slightly more than that, depending on what you did with that first tumbling pass. Let's go down and look under up to the level. In this case, she has a 0.5 deduction under dance. She does a couple of B elements. She does the 1.5 turn and she does the switch leg leap. And then she has just 2 C elements. So if you look at your chart, she has 2 C's and 1 B. So that's a 0.5 deduction. She does not have 3 C's. So that's the 1 deduction under up to the level. Compositionally, she was fine. Then other. I took a 0.5 in artistry. I thought this athlete sold the routine pretty well, but she had extra steps backwards before her tumbling passes. So I had a 0.5 up to level, a 0.5 other. My total deductions was 0.75. So my score was 9.25. Okay, so let's watch this slow motion and I'll talk through what I see. Nice starting pose. Bottom legs turned out, shoulders are down, chin up. Okay, she's having a little fun here with the routine, and the music is fun and upbeat. And she's got choreography that goes with it. That's choreographed, that's okay. And this is the controversial tumbling. It's lovely and high, certainly a big step, but then I felt those were hops and doing her best to go with choreography. You might have taken more. Little bit control on that turn, but look at how she's using her head. But here's her steps back, step, step, step. That was not choreographed. Those were just steps into the corner. Got form, legs apart and knees, a little bit of knees, a little bit of step. I had a total of 2/10 on that pass. You may have had more. Notice the focus change. Her head's looking another way. Oh, and it's looking another way still. And here's the part that I wrote, fun. And you know what? She's having fun with it too. She's smiling and it's appropriate for the movement and the music. Okay, her chasse at least is on toe. Nice split there. Her chasse is up on her toes. A little bit overturned there, a little bit underturned perhaps there. Staggered feet on her landing. Even that little movement doesn't have a value, was high and light. But again, you can see she's a little tired, a little bit lacking energy right there in that corner. A little bit of chest down on that last double back. But overall, a very nice routine. Okay, let's take a look at what I did with this routine. She starts with a double turn. It's not in control, and she also doesn't have a clear leg position. They really should have a very clear leg position. Then she does round off flip flap double back. It's low. She has feet issues and she's got some control issues, but she earns a D. Then her second tumbling pass is a round off 1.5 to a front pike, a CB +2. I took a total of a 10.5 off on that one. Then she does her dance series, and this was weak a little bit. She does a switch side leap into a wolf full. She is lacking split. Her turn is not completely clear and precise, and she has feet. So she gets a +1 for this. I have a total of 3/10 in deductions. Now, then she's down on the floor. She does a kind of combination forward roll, backward roll. Now, a forward roll and a backward roll are each A's. So this particular combination, I would award an A to. And I only bring it up because sometimes we forget to write down these little things. And I was judging floor at our level 10 regional meet this past season. And we had an athlete that did a 2-pass routine. And we needed to count a backward roll to make sure she had enough elements in her routine. So it is important to write down those A elements, even though they seem to be, they're just rolling around the floor a little bit. In this case, she doesn't need it, but sometimes in a two pass routine, she may need an A. And then she ends with a 2.5 twister that had some issues. There was form issues. She took a big step. She took another step. I had a total of 4/10 off on that one. If we go down the right side here, she had connected value of 3/10. She had 2 Ds. She had all her special requirements, the 3 different saltos, 2 salto pass, ends with a C or better, and also has a dance passage that includes a leap. So she's fine. I had 1.2 off in execution, but let's go down below here and look at what I did with up to the level and composition and other elements. For up to the level, when I look at the charts, everything was fine. I awarded 3 C's on her dance. If you did not award all of the dance C's, you might have a deduction there. Her acro is fine. Remember, if she has 2 D's and then a pass with a C, B direct, that's always going to be fine. And she dismounted with a D, so that's all okay. Compositionally, she has her C salto, her B turn, and her backward and forward salto, so she's fine. Other, again, some footwork, a little bit of flat feet, or it's that they're not all the way up in releve. We will come across some routines where they are working much more in releve. They're kind of in half releve. They're on their toes, but not all the way extended through the foot. Artistry, I felt like her expression was lacking. She wasn't selling the routine. She wasn't really feeling the routine. And then her music and movement was just off a little bit at times. So I had a total of 0.15 in other. So when you add up all that up, I'm back on the right side here again. Her total deductions 1.35. So if you subtract that from 10, you get an 8.65, and that was my score. We're going to watch this one again, slow motion, and I'll just talk through some of the things I saw. Even her starting pose, her feet are turned in just a little bit and sickled. These steps here, they're not really in releve. They're not completely flat-footed, but they're not completely in releve either. Here's the turn. Notice her leg position. It's not clear. A little bit of sickled feet in through there. She's got some choreography here. I've got a couple tenths there. You may have 0.25 or even 0.3 on that one. Remember that second salto should rise. That was her strongest tumbling pass of the three. And you'll note she doesn't change her head position much. A little bit, but not a whole lot. It's just something that you observe. Her chassé, she turns funny, her splits not completely there, her turn's not complete there. That dance series had deductions. And here's the forward roll, backward roll. And I think this was the point at which she was off her music a little bit. She was waiting for it. It was just not quite together with her music. See some form issues, big step, little step. Okay, here's my evaluation of this routine. She too starts down on the floor, does backward roll. Then this is the example of the full split with the holding the leg turn. She does a full, which is a B. She overturns it a little bit. It has a little bit of control issues. So I have a total of 2 half-tenth deductions on that one. Then she does a front handspring, front double full, which is an E. She had a little bit of form and control issues on that. I had a deduction total of 0.15 on that. Then she does a switch side leap into a popa, CC +1, half-tenth on her landing and a little bit of control on her popa. Throughout this routine, I'm noting she's just flat-footed, flat-footed, flat-footed. Then she does a front handspring, front full, got a half-tenth feet issues in there, and then a front layout. A little bit of control after that, just how she was trying to connect that into the round off back layout into the double stag jump. I thought that was creative, but she just had a control issue there. Double stag jump, I had a half-tenth. Then she does a head kip, which is the same symbol as a glide kip, actually. Then her last pass is a front handspring into a Rudy or a 1.5 twisting front salto. It's a 10th deduction on that. So if we go down the side here, she has 3/10 in connected bonus. She has a D and she has an E. So if you add all that up, oh, that's 6/10 in bonus. So we start at 10, but we have to remember there's going to be a bonus. So I would just run down and write that at +1 so I don't forget it. I had 7/10 in execution. Let's go down and look at the up to the level. She had a B turn, that full split turn, and then a switch side into popa, CC. Remember, that's a half-tenth deduction under up to level. Her tumbling was obviously wonderful, and she fulfills all her up to the level there. Compositionally, she has a C salto, she has a B turn, she goes backwards and frontwards. And notice how she creatively, she's obviously somebody that likes to front tumble, but she got that round off layout in there, and it was nice and high. Okay, that was her back tumbling. Then I took a full 10th for footwork on her because she was just kind of flat-footed throughout the routine. So when we add all that up, the other deduction and the up to the level, we have a total of 0.85 deducted from 10. So that's a 915. But then we remember we have a bonus. So we end up at 925 for this routine. Okay, let's take a look at what I did on this one, besides have a lot of white out because I kept writing over myself. She starts out with a double layout. Now, one of the things I noticed on this athlete, and there may be other athletes that had similar issues, but I saw bent knees on the back handsprings and actually on her front handsprings too. So I had little half-tenth deductions there. So she starts with the round off flip flop double layout. I had a 10th on her landing, a half 10th on her knees, but note that that's an E acro skill. We need to remember that because have to have an E acro skill if we're going to give that 10th bonus back. She's down on the floor, does a side roll. And this is going to be the part of the routine that you're going to be asking yourself, what do I do with that switch ring leap? Did she have enough height on the back leg? And did she have enough arch on it? I reacted with a C and took a 10th for height and a 10th for lack of arch. I went back into the code of points to review what the criteria was for that. If the foot is at shoulder or upper back level, that's an up to 1/10 deduction. I felt on her that it would be the full 1/10 deduction. And then it's it's up to 1/10 for lack of arch. I felt on her, again, it was a 1/10 deduction for the arch. We will watch that particular switch ring leap a couple more times. So you can take a look at it. I think for all of us, for training our eyes, watching videos slow motion and reviewing them repeatedly can really help us. Okay, and then she does a split jump full. The turn was not complete there, so I had a 10th there, but I awarded +1. Then she does a front handspring, and I mentioned the knees, front layout, knees, front layout full, a little bit of height that didn't raise as much as we'd like to see, and then a step control, but +2. Then she did a polpa, and then a turning leapy thing, a side roll down on the beam. She does a double turn. That was pretty decent, just a little half 10th deduction for control. And she ends with a round off flip flop double back, and again, knees and feet. So if you go through on the right hand side here, she had plenty of difficulty. She fulfilled her special requirements. She had 3/10 in connected value, provided you gave that switch ring leap. And like I said, we'll go look at that. She had 1 D and 2/10 for the E. So that's a total of 6/10 in bonus. That means there will be a bonus +1. So I would quick write that down here, +1, so I wouldn't forget it. So 10.0 start value. I had a point off in execution. Let's go review the other things. I have 3 C dance elements. That's okay. Her acro is great, and her dismount is a D, so that's fine. Compositionally, no deductions. She goes forward and backwards. She has her B or better turn, has a C salto. She's great. Other, I had a half 10th off in footwork. Again, just not working all the way in releve like I'd like to see. And then artistry expression. She was just kind of blank throughout. So I had a total in 10th in other. If you add all that up, it's 1.1. Deduct that from 10, I've got an 8.9, but then I add back the +1 bonus, so my score is a 9.0. Okay, we are going to go watch that switch ring leap again. First time we're going to watch it in half speed. Notice her shot. Okay, chassé is pretty decent. Okay, that's half speed. A little bit of bent knees on that turn. Now this is like a quarter speed. The chassé is nice and high, toes are pointed. Then she kind of takes a flat step here, flat-footed step. Switch. Ring. That back foot's about at her shoulder height. Flat foot takeoff there. These are areas she could improve in. A little bit of bend knees piece there. A little bit of short on the turn. This switch ring is obviously lacking. And if you happen to have given it a B and someone else gave it a C, so be it. let's take a look at what I did with this one. She starts off with a front salto through to a round off flip flop double back. I have a 1/2 tenth on the front salto. I think that was some feet, and the double back, a little bit of chest down on the landing, but it's an AD +1. Then she's down on the floor, does some rolling around. Then she does a switch ring, and this is a good example of a leap going away from us, where the routine just one before we saw the side view. This one we can only see the back view, but you can see her head and back towards her foot. So I think that one was pretty good. But a little 1/2 tenth there, and then a split full 1/2 tenth there, CC +1. Then she does a round off 1.5 twist into a front layout, a little bit low on that second salto. Remember, we want that second salto to rise, but +2 in connected bonus. Then she does a switch half, a little bit of 1/2 tenth deduction there for the turn was not crisp. She's back down on the floor, and this was my favorite part of the routine. She's going with the music, and she does a flex foot, and I'm like, oh, that was right with the music. It went with it. Oh, I just love that. Double turn, a little bit of control, 1/2 tenth there. Then she ends with a round off flip flop double back pike, a little bit of height, a little bit of control on the landing. She has everything she needs as far as value parts and special requirements. She has 4/10 in connection bonus, 2/10 in D. That all adds up to 6/10, but oops, she doesn't have an E salto. So she's only going to have a regular 10-0 start value. I have 0.65 in execution and amplitude. It's questionable as to whether she actually held that tumbling, that last pose. I agree. So maybe I should be a 1/2 tenth lower. I had no deductions under, up to the level was fine. She had 3 C dance elements. Her acro, she had 2 Ds and a CB in the middle. That works. Her dismount was a D. That works. Has her C salto, her B turn, backward and forward saltos. Okay, that's all cool. And then this was one where I felt like she was working up on her toes. She was in high releve. She was selling the routine. She had changes in expression. This one just brought me in and said, yes. Okay, we've got a couple more routines to go through. Okay, we'll take a look at what I did here. She starts with a round off flip flop, double back piked. I took a 10th, I think that was a little bit of low, chest down, and a 1/2 tenth for feet. Her second pass is a front layout into a front full. I've got a 1/2 tenth in foot in her feet on the layout, and then a 10th on her legs on the front full, +2 in connected value. Double turn, another one of my pet peeves. The kids that do double turns like they're doing a double twist. They should have some arm move, something that's more than just cranking and going. A little bit of control on that double turn too. Then she does a switch ring leap. We have that same issue of her going away from us, but it did look like her back leg was reasonably high and her head was back. Then she does a switch half, so CC +1. Then she's down on the floor. She does a twirl on her back, kind of some break dancing, and she ends up with a double back, has some feet, and then her chest is down on that one for a D. And she did not hold her last pose. She has 3/10 in connective value, 2 Ds, so we have a 10-0 start value. I had 7/10 in execution. When we look at everything down below, we've got 3 C dances. We've got plenty of 2 Ds and a BC direct for our tumbling. We end with a D, so all the up to the levels are fine. Under composition, she's got her C salto, her B turn, forward and backward, everything else is fine. I took a 1/2 in footwork, kind of the same issue that we've had with a lot of these athletes where they're on their toes, but they're not completely in releve. They have moments where they maybe go flat-footed just slightly. So a 1/2 there. With that, my total deduction is 0.75 and my score is 9.25. Okay, we'll take a look at what I did with this one. She starts out with a round of flip-flop, 1.5 twisting back salto to a front tuck, CA +1. Definitely low on that front tuck and feet issues. So I have a total of 0.25 on that tumbling pass. Her dance theories, the switch leg leap, a B 1/2, tertiate half or a strug, another 1/2, so BC, no bonus on that. She does a front handspring, front layout, front pike, BB +1, a little bit of form, a little bit of control, a little bit of height on that. So total of 2/10 on that pass. She's down on the floor. She does a double turn. She took a step, a little bit of control issues on that. And then she ends with a round off, 1.5 twist, a C. She had steps, she had control issues, she had feet issues. Now this is an example of a routine that is not having as much difficulty as many of them do. It's performed reasonably well, but it's lacking just difficulty, and so our final score is going to be lower because of that. She has 2/10 in connective value. She has all her value parts, special requirements. She has no Ds or E's, so her start value is 9.7. So let's go to, and I had 9/10 in execution and amplitude. Now let's go look down below. Up to the level, dance. She has a B and 2 C's, so we've got a 1/2 deduction there. Under acro, she does not have a D salto at all. That's a 2/10 deduction. And under dismount, she ends with a singular C. That is the maximum deduction, also of 0.1. She has her C salto, her B turn, her back and forward saltos, and all the rest under composition. And then footwork, she too was a little bit on that. At times she was up on her releve, but not full releve. It was kind of partial releve. And then with artistry, she had some choreography with the steps. So my total deductions, and you'll note that the up to level and other total 0.45. So that's a pretty significant deduction for all that. Total deductions 1.35. When I subtract from 9.7, I get a 8.35 for that one. Okay, we're going to watch this one again, slow motion. Okay, you can see through here. Now she's purposefully flexing her foot there. And just that step backwards and on flat foot. Some form there, and definitely low and feet, little hop. I could find even more deduction when I watch it slow motion. And here the steps, they're sort of on toe, but they're not, and some of them are sort of flat. It's kind of an in-between situation. But she does have some focus change. Chasse is up in the air, that's good. Switch leg leap, a little bit of knees. Definitely short on the turn on that one. But here again, just some flat feet as she's walking around and sort of on partial toe. But she's having fun and she's selling it to us. That's all good. And there's just her steps backward with no choreography whatsoever. Okay, got the hop. A little bit of height, a little bit of form on both of those. Some sickle feet in through there just a little bit. Some control on that turn, that step. Got some knees, got a step out of control, a little bit of height. She holds her pose. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That concludes the evaluation.
Thank you very much for doing this, Robin. Robin put these together for us, and it was a big help to get the routines done. And as she said, we want to thank Judy Dobransky for providing the videos as well.